on the success of Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball on Xbox, those cheeky fellas at Acclaim have rendered the fittest looking babes for a sporty PS2 take on beach volleyball.
That's not so good.
And while they've clearly made an attempt to make Summer Heat Beach Volleyball a proper game, it sadly doesn't quite work. Summer Heat scrimps on the gameplay in favour of presenting full-flesh replays and jiggling bits. If it's beautifully rendered women touching each other in bikinis you're after, then you're in for a treat. But delve beneath the gameplay and Summer Heat Beach Volleyball remains a strictly short-lived arcade experience.
That's yours! Max, ball in! That's a fantastic spot.
The camera angles make answering a serve frustratingly hit and miss, and the stripped-down control system allows you to play out a match using just one shot. Hidden characters, mini-games plus full arcade and tournament options are included, but overall it's just not the hard-hitting experience that volleyball should really be. With a group of suitably laddish mates, it could provide some light entertainment for all of 15 minutes, which is why you should probably rent this one rather than buy.
Ball in!
Despite any cracks you could make about the sport of snooker, 7 million people stayed up until the bitter end at 1 a.m. to watch this year's Embassy World Championship finals. When it beats football, people sit up and take notice, which is great news for Codemasters. Trying to improve on the superiority of last year's title, this update is an understated version of what happens with certain football games every year. Players are more accurately modelled with an increase in polygons, meaning more lifelike expressions as they concentrate to aim. There'll be at least 3 different camera angles which will move around to create the television coverage atmosphere, but you'll influence it when playing as opposed to the totally passive version you watch every year. You'll also find 2 sets of pool games to play, providing genuine value. Both British and American versions are included and played just as well as the snooker. Codemasters' long-standing reputation for great physics in their driving games has helped once again with this game, where the exact pattern must be worked out over a small static area, but also in time with the cameras. The accurate recreation is all well and good, except for the fact that hardcore snooker enthusiasts might prefer to go out to play the real thing in established snooker halls rather than sit in front of their TVs to play. However, the same argument could be applied to football, and FIFA just keeps on selling, so Codemasters currently has the field to itself, and has represented the sport as well as can be. The accurate recreation is all well and good, there's tons of extras, and Codemasters have no trouble representing the tension and sense of occasion of a real snooker championship. But unless you're completely snooker loopy, you won't get much more out of this than the previous PS2 title, World Championship Snooker 2002.
You have the engine! Great work! You surprised us all, and pleasantly this time.
Now let's roll!
Shotgun!
While not as universally popular as The Simpsons, Matt Groening's Futurama is equally as hip and hilarious, and now it's spawned a suitably warped video game to match.
Yes! Riches!
Evil businesswoman Mom has snapped up Planet Express deliveries from Professor Farnsworth, and in doing so becomes the ruler of Earth. Enslaving mankind, she transforms the entire planet into a massive warship and sets about conquering the universe in one foul swoop. In a mission to lead the Planet Express crew back in time and stop the sale, you start out as Fry. Later on in the proceedings, Bender and Leela will each take a turn, with Dr. Zoidberg stepping in at the last. But whoever you're controlling, the basic idea is to jump around whilst collecting things, pulling levers and shooting stuff. Which doesn't sound so bad until you realise that the character handling is a touch on the awkward side and the camera system does not perform well in tight corners. Basically, all your worst platforming nightmares rolled into one. Still, there's the added bonus that everything looks and sounds just like the TV show. To break up all that jumping from platform to platform, you can run around firing indiscriminately in one of many shooting scenarios. The combat is pretty weak to start with, but livens up a little when you bag the more powerful weapons. Almost as entertaining as the game itself are the selection of cutscenes.
Hey, the beam looks like it's about to give way.
Penned by screenwriters from the show, these clips are amusing and brilliantly drawn, but we could certainly do with a few more of them to help link the levels together. Most of the time there's only one route through anyhow, it's just that a little extra incentive wouldn't go amiss. Futurama is every bit as charming as the TV show. There's nothing terribly wrong here overall, and fans of the series are certain to enjoy it. But if you've no interest in Matt Groening's cartoon adventure, then it's all style over substance, and there's nothing incredibly new here to get excited about.
Farewell, big blue ball of idiots!
When a game boasts a hard-as-nails cop by the name of Jack Slate, you kind of know what to expect.
Clowns with guns? I'll be having nightmares about this for months.
Cops on the edge, revenge-seeking criminals, seedy strip bars, and prison shootouts. It's all in here with a bloodthirsty body count to match. Our hero Jack is far from happy. His father's dead, the local big-time criminal organisation wants to kill him, and to make matters worse, he's banged up for a crime he didn't commit. Each level is packed with bins, cars, tables, and other assorted items to hide behind, and much of the action consists of stepping out from cover, shooting, then ducking back again. There's an impressive stash of weaponry to play with as well. And to make things a bit easier, Dead to Rights features a clever auto-aim system that not only locks you onto the enemy, but also helpfully indicates how likely you are to hit them as well.
I gotta get to the evidence room before Hennessy gets back. Radio's in the dispatch cage and in the black and whites.
But the real weapon of choice is Shadow, Jack's canine partner. Lock your sights on an enemy, hit the attack button, and Shadow will go fetch both his weapon and his freshly ripped out throat. Originality isn't Dead to Rights' strong point. The obligatory slow-motion dive steps into Max Payne territory, but just look at those geriatric graphics. Quite frankly, we've seen better-looking PS1 games. In short, Dead to Rights is an extremely violent game, almost to the point of being distasteful. And if you're still reeling from the morally outrageous Vice City, then avoid this game like the plague. But for those of you who enjoy a good gun-toting romp, this hefty dose of point-blank headshots and cold-blooded killing will be much appreciated. Unsurprisingly, and let's be completely honest here right from the start, Die Hard Vendetta's not really all it's cracked up to be.
You okay?
Thanks. They were gonna kill me.
It may have a cool license to one of Hollywood's best action movie heroes of all time, but that's about all it's got going for it. The plot revolves around Piet Gruber, son of original Die Hard villain Hans Gruber, who's in LA to wreak havoc and mess with McClane's fledgling cop daughter. There's no Bruce lookalike for starters, as his likeness was judged too expensive for inclusion in the cutscenes, and the whole game is played out through first person. So when it comes to knocking out terrorists hand-to-hand styly, all you see is a pair of fists flailing about in front of you.
Please don't shoot me!
Unlike most shooters, you can chat to the other characters, and you're even marked on your level of interaction overall, which amounts to nothing more than pressing X in front of the characters and listening. If you're lucky, they give you valuable clues, but most of the time they just talk rubbish.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, very clever. You can tell Fat Larry I bagged his bad guy.
I read you. Send over a van.
Whilst this fails to advance the overall action, it does add a movie-like feel to the proceedings. An element enhanced further by the inclusion of set-piece action moments, which feel rewarding the first time you play them, but having to plow through them again if you die quickly becomes rather dull. When McClane holds his gun pointing up, you're engaged in stealth mode, and you can creep around in relative safety without anyone seeing you. Annoyingly though, the game decides when stealth is needed and when it's not. There are times when you'll automatically fail in a shootout because the game requires you to sneak around. And while you can sneak up on your bog-standard generic enemy, there's too many occasions when the game makes sure people notice you in time for a set piece. This may sound a bit harsh for what's essentially a half-decent stab-at-a-shooter with a possible multiplayer mode, but the trouble is, everything we loved about the Die Hard movie you don't get here, which begs the question, why even bother making a Die Hard game in the first place?
Please don't. You gotta help me.
Now get the hell out of here.
Don't worry.
I warned him I was having a bad day.
In the ever-changing world of the beat-em-up, Dynasty Warriors is going a bit stale. Excluding the Extreme Legends spin-off, this is the third game on the system, and it's still the same old characters, battles, and legendary flannel about the romance of Three Kingdoms. The games have slowly evolved over the years, and while this fourth outing is still hampered by the same basic scrolling beat-em-up approach, it undeniably looks and plays the best in the series. You can now choose which general you want to lead your army, allowing for different missions depending on who you pick. There are more enemies, the attacks are more varied than Dynasty Warriors 3, and the all-new duel mode for one-on-one battles is great fun too. And the true Muso moves look spectacular as ever, with the camera spinning around your position dramatically before all hell is unleashed on the battlefield.
Forward!
While there's nothing revolutionary to be found here, it's all harmless historical fun, and fans of the series will certainly approve. There are tons of characters to choose from, including the 3 new additions, and the wealth of game modes provides excellent replay value. But we can't help thinking that KOE should perhaps rethink the series and help it mature a little. Before you ask, no, this isn't any kind of contrived adventure based on the events of the upcoming film. But even without the big screen backup, the Hulk is still surprisingly fun throughout. One of the main reasons for this is Hulk's solid fighting engine and the excellent range of destructible scenery. You really can tear the place apart, smashing through walls, throwing cars into groups of unsuspecting guards, and waving around concrete posts like a baseball bat. Once the raw destructive quality wears thin, you can't help feeling that the Hulk is somewhat short on substance. It's not that we don't enjoy it, but the lack of standard moves, repetitive brawling, and limited range of enemies puts a downer on the big guy's adventure. From time to time, you'll be forced to creep around as Hulk's alter ego, Bruce Banner, in a number of stealth-based scenarios. Whilst this presents a welcome break amongst the 30-odd face-pounding levels, it does feel somewhat predictable in places, with puzzle-based switch-pulling and the odd amount of block pushing. Perhaps by way of compensation for these failings, there are plenty of extra features to be plundered, cheat modes, bonus footage from the film, and a super secret game mode which we haven't uncovered yet, as this can only be unlocked by inputting codes given away in the film, or so we're led to believe. The Hulkster may be content light overall, but you'll certainly have a blast getting through it. Definitely worth a purchase if you're a fan of comic-based heroes, and much better than X-Men 2 Wolverine's Revenge by far. It plays well and the graphics are well suited to the game, but ultimately it's not the Hulk experience we know it could have been. Mace Griffin is refreshingly different from your average first-person shooter, and there's no denying it looks sharp. But in a crowded genre like this, can it really capture the public's imagination? Mace belongs to a highly skilled group of rangers, set up to deal with the lowlife and other assorted troublemakers draining the new worlds of valuable resources. But the work of an unknown traitor soon brings this elite group to an end. As the only surviving ranger, Mace is wrongly accused and becomes a bounty hunter to discover the truth behind this treachery. Forget the predictable framed-for-murder plot for just a moment and gorge yourself on this world full of aliens, where you're free to go exactly where you choose with a seamless loading system that really sets you free. One moment you're fighting through a huge space station with an arsenal of nifty weapons, the next you've made your escape in a small ship and are heading out into space. And all without the mandatory 10-second pause that occurs when switching between environments. All the action is mission-based and geared around the eventful delivery of revenge. The bounty hunting bit has you taking on plenty of different tasks as you explore the seamless locations, but there really is no hurry, and it's possible to just muck about in true Grand Theft Auto style. Grab yourself a ship, fly off and maybe shoot some stuff along the way. You'll be amazed at the level of detail. For example, shoot out the windows of attacking ships and you're able to see the pilot. The whole thing oozes atmosphere. Something has gone very right with Mace Griffin. You'll want this one badly.
SX Superstar mimics the rise to glory of a Supercross biker in what basically amounts to another Jeremy McGrath Supercross game, with a touch of lifestyle treatment thrown in for good measure. Choose from a lineup of fictional racers and you're dumped into a rundown apartment that serves as your base of operations. From here you can do all the usual story mode stuff, like selecting races from your calendar, keeping an eye on your finances, and checking your answering machine for messages.
Hi, it's Lee, your agent here. Hope you're settling in okay to the apartment I sorted out for you.
As far as the racing itself goes, controlling your dirt bike monster is definitely on the arcade side. Controls work in the exact same manner as the previous McGrath games, with the charge button ensuring the best possible jumps and 2 buttons for performing the tricks. And while the stunts themselves aren't much cop, sliding around the mountain slopes in the off-road waypoint-based races provides a brief glimpse of entertainment. The PS2 lacks a true definitive Supercross game, and this doesn't help change the situation. It's far from being downright terrible, but it's just not that much fun to play. Wolfenstein is split into 6 fairly long campaigns. The opening Egyptian campaign is followed with BJ's escape from Wolfenstein, through to a raid on Himmler's secret laboratory, among others. Thankfully, the impressive level design and vast amounts of enemies on offer more than make up for the repetitive nature of the mission objectives. Traipsing from one point to the next, smashing up radios, pulling switches, shooting at the meddling Nazis, essentially it's the same thing over and over. And there's an abundance of secrets to discover too, cunningly hidden away behind collapsing walls, secret buttons and picture frames. It's enough to keep all but the most hardened of first-person shooters going for quite some time, and the more secret areas you find, the more points you'll receive to spend on upgrading your character's abilities for the tougher later levels. As entertaining as it is, Operation Resurrection lacks that certain sparkle. The detailed environments and characters are certainly impressive, but there's no explosive brilliance that we've come to expect from games such as Red Faction 2. And the overall thrill pales in comparison to the superb Medal of Honor. It's fair to say that Wolfie on PS2 is no showstopper. Accept this fact, and there's a reasonably lengthy and thoroughly entertaining single-player adventure to be had once you've breathed through the disappointing first campaign. It's hardly an essential purchase, but it could have been much worse.